Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. So last night, WOTC started dumping Spider-Man collector boxes on Amazon at $455. So there will be an affiliate link down below if you want to get some of those. Please use the link, it helps me out a ton. But the bigger issue is, why have they suddenly started doing this? Why is it so unprecedented? I'm going to tell you why it's important, and I'm going to tell you where I think it's going and where I hope it's going in the short term. So first off, WOTC has not been dumping a lot of boxes below market rates for the last 9 months. About last summer of 2024, they started dumping Lost Caverns of Ixalan collector boxes on Amazon. And man, they crushed the market on those. They were dumping them 30, 40, $50 below the current market price. And they dumped them for months and months and months on Amazon. And even as they crushed the TCG player market price, they kept adjusting their Amazon sales price further down to continue crushing it. And they kept that up until sometime February or March of 2025 before they finally ran out of boxes and just had to stop dumping. And in that same time period, we got Innistrad Remastered. And they dumped Innistrad Remastered collector boxes on Amazon, but it was not a very dramatic dump. It was only $5 to $10 ish below the current market prices because after Innistrad Remastered came out, it fell from about 340 a box to about 260 or so. And on Amazon, they were 244 ish, and so it was only a very slight dump, and they only dumped them for about a month or 6 weeks or so, and then they got enough out of their system and they stopped. Since then, I have not seen a case where they have undercut the market prices. What they've done for the last 7, 8 months or so instead is they will consistently price boxes on Amazon 5, 10, 15, $20 above the TCG player market price. And so essentially what they're doing is they're betting that some people have their Amazon Visa card and get 5% back. Maybe some people are willing to take the slow shipping, get another 1% back. Some people will pay a premium for the convenience of getting it delivered to their door quickly by Amazon instead of slow by sellers on TCG Player. And so they'll pay that extra premium to buy them through Amazon. And it seems they've been content with that. And so to suddenly take a brand new product that's been out, what, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks now, and dump it considerably below the current market price on TCG Player, it's very, very uncharacteristic with how they've been treating Amazon dumps for the last 7, 8, 9 months. And yesterday, there were some boxes on TCG Player that got sold down in the 460s, some in the 470s, but for the most part, the official calculated market price was holding in the high 480s and into the 490s throughout the day. And so to suddenly go onto Amazon in the evening and dump them down at 455 is considerably out of character with what they've done for most of 2025. Now, there's a second layer to that, which is Universes Beyond. And in the history of Universes Beyond, and especially the more recent history, say the last 18 to 24 months of it, WotC has been very, very reticent to dump Universes Beyond products on Amazon because they typically do not want to crash the market for Universes Beyond products because it will inhibit their ability to get good deals and get those IP licenses to make further ones in the future. And so they've been careful about trying to guard the price and not crush it themselves. And so for them to not just step out of character with what they've been doing for the last 9 months and start a dump on Amazon, but it's a dump of a Universes Beyond product. So this is highly irregular, very, very irregular to see this. Now, where do I think this is going? In the short term, I hope they crush the market. Now, we are still at the beginning of October, so I don't really foresee that this is kind of the last couple of weeks of the financial quarter kind of stuff that they would typically do in years past with their Amazon dumps, where they would step up the dumping in the last 4 and 3 and 2 weeks of a financial quarter. They would mash the gas pedal all the way to the floor on the dumps in the past. That's not the case now because we're at the very beginning of a new financial quarter. Now, possibly they're looking at the numbers, they're looking at the uh, expectations for Lorwyn, they're looking at the fact that Avatar, maybe the allocations and the requests from distribution and card stores aren't going as well as they like. And then after Avatar, they've got to wait till I believe January 23rd before Lorwyn comes out. Maybe they're looking at all of that and they're saying, man, we really need to juice the numbers. Let's just start dumping early. That's a possibility. I don't know how much I believe that at this point, simply because there's so scant little evidence based on the fact that they just started dumping it last night. If we go forward a week, 10, 20 days into the future, and they keep marching down the price of these boxes as TCG players' market price is struggling to get down to where they can make sales competing against WOTC's dumps on Amazon, then yeah, we could take a more bearish view on things. I'm hoping, and I've seen a little of this borne out today on TCG Player, I'm hoping the market for this product just falls out. This is going to be a fine product. In the long term, it's going to do great. 2 years from now, we will not even remember this, and this will be a high 3 digit or low 4 digit box. In the meantime, it'd be wonderful if it dropped $100 and then we get into Black Friday and we get what, 15, 18, 20% Black Friday bonus buck sale, and we can get these things down under $300 a box. Man, I would love it. And I bought a couple extra last night to uh, average down a little bit, and just on the risk that maybe they only have a little bit to dump, and once they turn off that dump, the market takes that as a signal that no more is coming and it starts to consolidate and move upwards. Now, I think that's the less likely outcome from where I sit today, but it's a possibility, and that's why I went ahead and averaged in with a couple more boxes last night. If it continues to go down, or if TCG players, sellers overshoot and suddenly the boxes are 430 on TCG player, well, I'm going to have to look at what my various cash backs between the two sites look like, what the overall final purchase price is, and maybe I'll get a couple more there. Otherwise, I'll wait a little while and see how it shakes out, and then I'll buy some more. But what will happen in the near term? Let's call it the medium term, okay? So let's say 2026. What might we expect to happen? Well, we have a couple of cases to compare against. And so we know, based on all the data we can look backwards at, that WotC really made some dramatic changes to collector boxes starting with Phyrexia in 2023, and they significantly slashed the print runs. And then they figured out finally what types of chase value the market would respond to. And they've done very well with collector boxes since then, but there have been a couple of duds. There was Murders, Outlaws, Aetherdrift, and Innistrad Remastered. Those were really the four duds since then. And we can just go look at the data and see what's happened to them to see what we might expect Spider-Man to do on that medium timeline. Now, I still expect on the long timeline, 18, 24 months, like I said a minute ago, this will probably be a high 3 digit, low 4 digit box. Okay. But let's go look at what we might expect a little more, a little sooner into the future. So there's Spider-Man on TCG Player right now, $485. And if we go over and look at Murders, we're at 252. So even though this crashed down, gosh, I think it crashed into the 150s. Yeah, our oldest data point is 166. And I believe it had gotten lower than that. And here we are back at the 250. So even a loser box like Murders recovered. And this coincided, unfortunately, with being the expansion to carry the first play booster box. And boy, the market did not like that when it came out. And then we had Outlaws a year ago. What was this at? 184. I don't really remember it being dramatically below that. And today it's 280. So, we're up $100 in the last year, even again on this loser hat set box that did very badly right after it came out, but we've recovered this much 18 months post release. Aether Drift, excuse me, this one was a little more recent and doesn't even have a whole year, but it bottomed out somewhere around 170, maybe that transaction there at 170, and we're at 210 today. So, not wonderful, but again, this was a January 2025 product. And finally, like I said, Innistrad Remastered. This was, let's see, we should have the data here, about 340. Yeah, my recollection is right. 340 right before release, and then it bottomed out 250s, 240s, 220s. There's a 230 transaction, and like I said, WOTC was dumping them around 244 headline price on Amazon, and then you could take up to 6% off of that, depending on what reasonably available cashback offers you have. And now here we are back at 287. And so, like I said, I expect in the medium term for these Spider-Man boxes to recover just fine, and in the long term they'll do great. But it's the short term that's going to be kind of exciting. And I'm hoping this is not something that is a bellwether of a large change in how WotC is doing things. Because, they made that big change in January of 2023. They actually had to decide on it much earlier in order for the engineering and the print runs that went into Phyrexia to come to market. But they made that big change then, and it really saved the market. By Black Friday 2023, we saw the last final gasp of the long bear market, and then we moved firmly into the bull market that we've been in even to today. And so I'm hoping that we won't look back 6 months from now and say, man, that was the moment when WotC admitted that the data were very bad, that the sales were too slow, that the uptake of Avatar was not great enough, that they didn't have faith in Lorwyn, and on and on and on and on and on. I hope we don't end up in that situation. There's a small chance that we do. What I would really love to see out of the Magic market is a breather, slight pullback, and then just 6 months of sideways consolidation. That would feel a lot nicer than a full blown bear market, but maybe this is the first sign of it. So, in the short term, all I'm going to do is just excitedly watch every day, enjoy it, and if the price goes lower, I'll continue to average down because on that long timeline out there, 2, 3 years from now, we will not even remember this. We'll just be so happy with how much the boxes have appreciated. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Funnel Trade. Buy a hat.